Christian Horner has fired back at Adrian Newey's accusations of poor development at Red Bull. While Newey has been washing his hands in recent public appearances, claiming he had nothing to do with the team's decline, Horner says otherwise. It's time for us to hear his side of the story, so keep watching. Adrian Newey may have voiced frustrations over Red Bull ignoring his concerns about the RB20's development, but team boss Christian Horner isn't buying it. According to Horner, the team's struggles were already taking shape, certainly during 2023, well before Newey's impending exit. Red Bull confirmed last May that the legendary designer would depart in early 2025, after serving a period of gardening leave, during which he remains involved in the RB17 hypercar project. Despite the internal turbulence, Newey still left his mark with one last win, his 26th career title, as Max Verstappen clinched the 2024 F1 Drivers' Championship in a machine crafted under his watchful eye. Following his post-Miami Grand Prix exit from Red Bull's Formula One operations, Adrian Newey left technical director Pierre Wash to steer the ship, but his departure seemed to coincide with a downturn in Red Bull's fortunes as the RB20's development took a wrong turn. Balance issues plagued the car, creating what Christian Horner described as a disconnected front and rear. The result? A tricky, unpredictable machine that cost Red Bull's drivers crucial lap time and raised questions about whether Newey's absence was already being felt. Red Bull's development woes snowballed into a 10-race winless streak, their longest drought since 2020, putting Max Verstappen under pressure in the Drivers' Championship, while McLaren and Ferrari surged ahead in the constructors' standings. Meanwhile, Adrian Newey, who is set to officially join Aston Martin next month, revealed he had raised concerns about the RB20's design direction, but his warnings fell on deaf ears. Speaking to Germany's Auto, Motor and Sport, the legendary engineer admitted that others within the team didn't seem too worried at the time. He said, "I think Red Bull, from what I could see, the 2024 car and through the very last stages of 2023 as well, I would say, started to become more difficult to drive. Of course, that suited Max, and he could handle that if you like. It didn't suit him, but he could handle it. Checo Perez couldn't. So you also started to see more of a difference in performance between the teammates, Max and Checo. That carried into the first part of 2024, but the car was still quick enough to be able to cope with it. It's something I was starting to become concerned about, but not many other people in the organisation seem to be very concerned about. From what I can see from the outside, but I don't know, the guys at Red Bull, this is no criticism, but I think they just perhaps, through lack of experience, kept going in that same direction, and the problem came more and more acute to the point that even Max found it difficult to drive. When asked about Adrian Newey's recent comments on Red Bull's design struggles, Christian Horner admitted he hadn't seen them, but he wasn't convinced by the narrative. According to Horner, the team's current problems didn't suddenly emerge after Newey's departure. They were already present in 2023, when the design legend was still leading the team's technical direction. Speaking at the F1 75 launch event, Horner made it clear, Red Bull's downturn wasn't a post-Newey phenomenon. It had been brewing for some time. I haven't seen those comments, but I think the issues are more deep-rooted than just last year, he said. I think that they'd actually start, when you really dig into the data and some of the characteristics, you start to see them much earlier than that, certainly during 2023. I think that it was a matter of unravelling it to understand what were the contributing factors to having a very peaky performance. That's where the team have worked very hard to understand that and address it. The team have worked very hard over the winter to work on some of the vices of RB20. I think we've had a good winter. And, the team has been working incredibly hard. We'll get the first sort of indication next week as to, have we managed to address some of the issues? We managed to improve them during the course of certainly the latter third of last year, and we'll see if we've managed to go a step further over these early races. And on a night when the London crowd greeted him with jeers, Christian Horner had a message for the entire F1 world, one that carried a sense of foreboding. Against the backdrop of Formula One's explosive rise from a European favourite to a booming global spectacle, Horner took a moment to acknowledge its unprecedented growth. But just seconds later, he sounded the alarm. The sport is on the brink of its biggest transformation in 50 years, with 2026 ushering in sweeping changes to chassis, power units, and aerodynamics, along with the long-awaited arrival of an 11th team. For Red Bull and the rest of the grid, 2026 could prove even more crucial than 2025. Falling behind in development now may not just cost success next season, It could leave lasting and potentially devastating consequences in the paddock for years to come. This year is set to be super competitive, which is very exciting, Horner said. I think where there is a little bit of apprehension is we have a big regulation change for 2026. So it's the first time car and engine in probably 50 years have been changed simultaneously, and inevitably there will be a divergence of performance at that point. It's really important that FIA and the commercial rights holder, they make sure that the boundaries of that there's the ability to recover quickly. With General Motors/Cadillac set to finally join Formula One in 2026, as the long-awaited 11th team, the sport's transformation is accelerating. Once a predominantly European spectacle, F1 now stretches from Australia to Saudi Arabia to China and is becoming more American than ever. Christian Horner, never one to shy away from weighing in on the sport's direction, struck a familiar balance between optimism and caution. Speaking to a packed room of reporters, the Red Bull boss acknowledged F1's rapid push for expansion, but warned that going further and faster comes with its own risks. I think that you've got to keep the DNA of the sport. Of course, sport is entertainment and nobody does sport better than the US. And obviously being owned by Liberty Media as a US media company, it's inevitable they're going to be pushing this side of Formula One. It's important not to lose sight of the DNA of the sport. But of course, the fans are the reason that we're here. They're the reason that the sport is in as good a shape as it is. What's really been fantastic is the engagement from a much younger, much more diverse audience over the last few years. It's a matter of really embracing that and being able to give back. As Horner's star driver Max Verstappen gears up for the 2025 Formula One season, the reigning champion has offered a measured take on his relationships within Red Bull, hinting at a season that could be just as intense off track as it is on it. Chasing a fifth consecutive world title, Verstappen will kick off his campaign at the Australian Grand Prix on March 16th. But the road to glory won't be easy, with fierce competition expected from Lando Norris, who pushed him hard in 2024, and Ferrari's newest powerhouse, Lewis Hamilton, eyeing an unprecedented 8th championship. Adding to the intrigue, Verstappen will be adjusting to a fresh dynamic within Red Bull as Liam Lawson steps in as his new teammate. The rising Kiwi talent replaces Sergio Perez, who was axed after the team's leadership, led by Christian Horner and Helmut Marko, opted for a change in their driver lineup. A new era begins at Red Bull as Liam Lawson steps in to replace Sergio Perez, whose struggles late in the season cost the team a runner-up finish in the Constructors' Championship. Now, the 23-year-old Kiwi has his shot at proving he belongs among Formula One's elite. Having gained valuable experience with Red Bull's sister team, VCARB, Lawson now faces the ultimate test, competing at the sharp end of the grid. While a title fight may be a stretch in his debut season with the Milton Keynes squad, he's fully focused on helping Red Bull reclaim the championship crown they lost to McLaren in 2024. Cautious about their chances of immediate success, Verstappen is keeping expectations realistic as the team gears up for the 2025 season. Speaking ahead of this week's highly anticipated F1 live launch event in London, the 63-time Grand Prix winner was asked about his early impressions of working with Lawson. Offering a measured response, Verstappen shared his thoughts on their budding partnership and the road ahead. "We've seen each other at the photo shoots. I'm sure it's going to be fine. I've seen Liam grow throughout the junior team and he fully deserves his shot with the team. I'm excited to work together and have a great season again." Before you go, let me ask you, who do you think is telling the truth about Red Bull's downfall? Adrian Newey or Christian Horner? Let's argue about it in the comments section down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching.